Hi! There's been a lot of talk about PTSD in the news recently, and that's why I think this video is so important, because there's so many misconceptions about PTSD. So today I want to talk about things everyone should know about PTSD. So PTSD occurs when you go through a trauma that is a shocking or dangerous event that could happen to you, or it could happen to someone else. There have been instances where people get PTSD because people around them have been through a traumatic event. Going through trauma is not a rare occurrence. In fact, 6 out of 10 men and 5 out of 10 women experience at least one trauma in their lifetime. Now, not everyone who experiences a trauma in their lifetime will develop PTSD. It is estimated that 7.8 Americans will experience some sort of PTSD in their lifetime, with women twice as likely as men. Now, there are many ways that someone can experience PTSD. For women, the most common ways to develop PTSD is childhood abuse or sexual assault. And for men, sexual assault, childhood neglect, combat, physical assault, all of these things could develop into PTSD. In the media, when talking about PTSD, they only talk about the combat for the veterans and rape for women. And that is totally valid, and I'm so happy that PTSD is being talked about in the media, but I just wanted to let you know that there are other ways to get PTSD. Common symptoms for people who have PTSD are recreating the traumatic event over and over and over again. These are also called flashbacks. These flashbacks can happen with mental images that pop in your head or through nightmares. If a child has PTSD, usually these symptoms come out in their play. Avoidance of people, objects, and events that remind the person of the trauma is very common. Attentiveness all the time for danger. This is because the person who has PTSD is irritable, angry, and always on their guard. If you would like more information about the symptoms of PTSD, there's a lot more than what I discussed. Please go to the link down below, because everyone experiences symptoms differently. Now, it is a misconception that PTSD happens right after the traumatic event. Everyone is different. Sometimes PTSD symptoms will start right after the traumatic event, or sometimes months or years later. Some people can experience these symptoms for years, continuously, and some people experience these symptoms where they come and they go. And for some people, they don't even know that they have PTSD because of the symptoms and how similar they are to other illnesses. PTSD is not a sign of mental weakness. While some people after a traumatic event can adjust to normal life after, some people just can't, but that doesn't mean they're mentally weak. There are many factors that go into if someone will develop PTSD or not. The severity and the longevity of the trauma, the person's personality traits, how many chemicals the brain releases to combat stress, does this person have social support? These things, these factors all combined to see if the person will develop PTSD. Things to never say to someone who has PTSD. Can you calm down, or I'm not going to talk to you right now? Can't you just forget about it? Can't you just repress the memory and forget the whole thing? You just need to forgive and forget what happened. The past is the past. You need to move on. Things you should say and do to help someone with PTSD. Ask them how they're feeling and ask them what type of support they need. Respect them and treat them with kindness. They didn't ask for the trauma to happen. They didn't ask to feel like this. So accept them even though you'll never understand what they're going through. Invite them to find resources to help them. If they want you to, maybe offer to help find a counselor or a treatment center in your area. And be a good listener. Sometimes they just need someone to talk to vent to. One of the best things that you can do for someone suffering with any mental illness is just listen to them and not be judgmental. If someone is suffering with PTSD, there is hope for recovery. There are so many treatments out there for people who are suffering with this illness. CBT, exposure therapy, EMDR, support groups for the sufferer and the caregiver, medications, family therapy. There's so much out there for you. Trigger warnings are so important in everyday life for people who have PTSD. I know that there's something going on the internet where we don't like to talk about trigger warnings, or we feel like we're being too safe and too sensitive. But for people who have this illness, things like physical or sexual abuse, things like physical violence or sexual violence, things like combat or disasters could trigger someone with PTSD. And I feel like we should be thinking and talking about this. It's important to put trigger warnings on things in the media, in the movies, and on TV for these people. If you are suffering with PTSD, I want you to know that what happened to you was not your fault. It was not your fault. You are not a weak person for having this illness, and you are strong enough to speak up about the things that you need to heal from this. I've been going to a support group lately, and it's been really beneficial to me, as well as one-on-one therapy, to talk to a therapist about what happened and get coping skills and start the healing process. Because healing from this, talking about it, really does help. And going to therapy and going to support groups or going to a treatment center really does help. And I want you to know, if you are suffering or if you think that you're suffering with PTSD, reach out for help. Get the help you need because you deserve it. I have a lot of experience with going to therapy and going to support groups and talking about my experience with trauma. And I believe that if I did not start talking about my trauma, I would not be here. Because when I held it inside, when I didn't tell anyone about it made my depression worse, and I really got suicidal. But when I started talking about it and hearing other people's experiences with it and knowing that I'm not alone and knowing that there is hope for me, I felt better, and I started working on it and I started healing. And it is a process, and it's not an overnight process. It takes months or years to heal from this. But I want to let you know that there is a light at the end of this tunnel, and there is help for you out there. If you would like more information on PTSD for sufferers or for caregivers, I'll leave some resources down below. If you like this video, please subscribe. I make mental health and self-care content every week. Please come back and join our family. I love you guys. Please stay safe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys.